Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. In today's video, we're going to briefly analyze the key tactical themes in Arsenal's 3-0 win over Newcastle. When we break down the game and we do look at the board, we have Newcastle in a 4-4-2 and Arsenal starting the game in a 4-2-3-1. So first we're going to look at the board and see how Newcastle attempted to disrupt Arsenal from creating chances, and then see how the Gunners were able to get into good quality positions. So when we do look at the board, we have Newcastle in a 4-4-2, and they often dropped off into two banks of four out of possession. And initially, it was clear that Newcastle wanted to ensure that Thomas Partey and Xhaka couldn't get on the ball freely in that midfield zone. So you would have Carroll and Wilson sitting just ahead of Thomas Partey and Xhaka to ensure that they couldn't get on the ball. And when they looked to press Holding or David Luiz, they were blocking off the passing lane into the Arsenal midfielders. That meant that Joelinton and Almiron would be stepping into Cedric and Tierney, and you would also have Longstaff and Shelvey ready to push forward if the Arsenal center backs or the fullbacks were able to get the ball into the path of Thomas Partey or Xhaka. Further up the pitch, that means Lewis and Kraft would be tasked with the movement of Saka and Aubameyang, and we often saw Saka and Aubameyang ahead of the fullbacks, or they would drift narrow into that gap between Lewis and Clark and Lascelles and Kraft. The other key factors here for Arsenal is that Lacazette did a very good job of dropping off deeper to pull out Clark or Lascelles, and he was able to switch the ball out into the wider areas or to his midfield teammates to help Arsenal push forward. But when you look at Arsenal's overall attacking shape, if you have Saka and Aubameyang occupying Kraft and Lewis in those narrow positions, then that creates space for Cedric and Tierney to push forward to peg back Joelinton and Almiron. However, the key tactical theme here in that game was the fact that Arsenal often got Aubameyang into 1v1 situations against Kraft, and once again, Smith Rowe played a key role in Arsenal creating their best chances, because what we'd often see is that Cedric would pull out Joelinton, and then if Smith Rowe shifts towards the wider areas unmarked, if he pulls out Lewis, then that creates a gap for Saka. The other alternative would be Saka dropping off to pull out Lewis, and if Cedric is on the ball, then that creates the gap for Smith Rowe to run into, and it either forces Clark to step out, or then Lewis has to recover, and then you have Saka breaking towards goal. This was a simplistic approach from Arsenal, and it was easy for them to execute due to the fact that Longstaff and Shelvey weren't tracking the movement of Smith Rowe in these areas, so that was how he was able to pop up into good positions. For instance, there's a time where Thomas Partey was ahead of Newcastle's midfield duo, and he was able to locate Smith Rowe shifting into a wide right touchline position, and that's because Saka was occupying Lewis, and Cedric moved narrow to pull out Joelinton. As you can see, Shelvey and Longstaff are attracted to the ball, so no one's picking up Smith Rowe as he makes a run into right half space. Thomas Partey's crossfield pass into Smith Rowe in right half space pulls out Lewis, and that results in a first-time side-footed pass for Saka unmarked in Newcastle's penalty area. But when Saka receives Smith Rowe's pass, he should be attacking Clark, but he's instantly closed by Joelinton, and he dribbles backwards. There was a time where Cedric slid the ball to Smith Rowe ahead of Lewis, and he drops the ball back into the path of the Arsenal right back. When Cedric receives Smith Rowe's layoff, you could see the Arsenal midfielder instantly spinning across Lewis down the right touchline. Smith Rowe receives Cedric's pass near the right touchline, and he takes his touch across Lewis into a central position, and this is where you see Saka making an unmarked overlapping run beyond Lewis. And that ultimately results in Smith Rowe sliding the ball across Lewis and Clark for Saka charging towards the Newcastle penalty area. That pass puts Saka in a 1v1 scenario with Clark, and the Arsenal midfielder opts to drive towards the byline where his options are Lacazette between Lascelles and Kraft, and that leaves Aubameyang and Tierney free at the back post. This chance created by Smith Rowe ultimately results in Aubameyang hitting the post from point-blank range. If we focus on a transitional attack, there was a time where Thomas clipped a long ball into space beyond an advanced Kraft in the left channel for Smith Rowe to break towards the Newcastle penalty area. Smith Rowe carries the ball into left half space with Lascelles shifting over to apply pressure, and his options to his right involve Saka's run between Clark and Lewis, which leaves Lacazette and Aubameyang free to make unmarked late runs towards towards the box. Smith Rowe opts for a pullback into the path of Aubameyang, but here Carroll does well to track back and apply enough pressure to force the Arsenal striker into a rush shot over the net. And if we look to one final example of Smith Rowe's impact, you could see a time where Saka slides the ball to Cedric, who holds off Lewis's pressure near the right touchline, and we could see Smith Rowe in space ahead of Clark. Here you could see Saka running off Joelinton to receive Cedric's back heel across Lewis in the right channel, and that's when Smith Rowe begins to make a run towards the Newcastle penalty area, with Shelvey not tracking and Clark holding his position. When Saka breaks towards Clark, he's free to cut onto his left foot without the center back stepping forward due to Smith Rowe's run into right half space, and that enables Saka time and space to locate Lacazette's run off Kraft towards the back post, but from a point-blank effort, Lacazette is still denied by Darlow. And then if we shift to Arsenal's left-hand side, like I said, they were able to consistently get the ball into Aubameyang ahead of Kraft, and that's where we often saw Tierney breaking beyond Almiron, or Aubameyang getting into 1v1 situations with the Newcastle right back. There was a time where Xhaka slid the ball into the left channel for Aubameyang ahead of Kraft once again, and you could see Tierney calling for the ball in left half space as he makes an underlapping run beyond Almiron. Aubameyang opts to dribble towards Kraft opposed to playing the pass into Tierney, and that enables Almiron to track back into position to create a 1v2 as he blocks off the lane for Aubameyang to get the ball onto his right foot. This forces Aubameyang to dribble towards the byline, and Kraft does well to get across the Arsenal attacker to halt the attack. Later on, you could see Thomas Partey splitting Shelvey and Almiron for Aubameyang in space ahead of Kraft. And this time you see Shelvey shifting across to create the 1v2 against Aubameyang as he shuts down the shooting lane for the Arsenal striker who bends a tame effort wide of the net. And if we look to one final example, after dispossessing Joelinton in the halfway circle, you could see Thomas splitting the Newcastle attacker and Longstaff to find Smith Rowe in a pocket of space. Smith Rowe slides the ball out into the left channel for Aubameyang to place him in a 1v1 scenario with Kraft as he dribbles towards the Newcastle penalty area. Kraft does well to hold off Aubameyang until Almiron tracks back into position in Newcastle's box. Meanwhile, we also see Lascelles shifting across for cover pressure as well. So Almiron is blocking off any sort of cutback or squared ball into the box, whereas Lascelles and Almiron are also in a good position to step forward to apply pressure on Aubameyang if he's able to get the ball onto his right foot to attempt a shot on goal. Aubameyang resorts to turning towards the outside and firing a hopeful cross that deflects off Kraft and forces Darlow to push the ball away for a corner. So it was no surprise that both players played a key role in Arsenal killing off the game by the hour mark, but it was the space that was afforded down that left side of the pitch in transition that was disappointing for Newcastle. In the build-up to Arsenal's opening goal, you could see Thomas taking his touch across Joelinton and locating Aubameyang unmarked in space beyond Longstaff, with Kraft preparing to shift across the pitch for cover. When Aubameyang receives Thomas Partey's pass in the left channel, it places the Arsenal attacker in another 1v1 battle with Kraft, but this time with more space available to run at the Newcastle right back. However, Kraft does well to force Aubameyang to his left foot, but the Arsenal striker is still able to overcome the great defending as Darlow went to the ground early and he was able to scoop the ball over him. And in the build-up to Arsenal's second goal, we see Aubameyang freely carrying the ball into Newcastle's half, and once Shelvey shifts across for pressure, he plays a forward pass into Smith Rowe to create a 1v1 with Lascelles. When Smith Rowe takes on Lascelles, it appears that he's initially cutting onto his right foot when he approaches the edge of the box. Meanwhile, you could see Saka making a late unmarked run towards the penalty area while Lacazette is occupying Lewis. Smith Rowe, however, cuts towards the byline in left half space, with Lacazette peeling to the back post to drag away Lewis, and with Clark dropping off towards the 6-yard box, a lane is open for the Saka pullback to kill off the game. Hi everybody, thanks for watching, and subscribe here for your latest tactical analysis and daily commentary on the InnerViews show. And if that wasn't enough, don't forget you could find more organic, unfiltered soccer/football analysis on the InnerViews podcast, the best soccer/football podcast in the world, available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and any Android apps on your Android devices.